John Smith was not your average guy. While most people dreamed of space, John decided to make that dream come true. He spent years in his garage, building a spaceship with his own hands. It wasn't pretty, but John believed it would work. On a quiet Tuesday night, John sneaked his homemade spacecraft to an empty field. His heart raced as he climbed inside. With shaky hands, he pressed the big red button labeled Launch. The engines roared to life, and suddenly, John was shooting up into the sky. At first, everything seemed fine. John watched in awe as the Earth got smaller and smaller. He passed through clouds, then the blue sky turned black. Stars twinkled all around him. John couldn't believe it. He was actually in space. But then things started to go wrong. A red light began flashing on John's control panel. He didn't know what it meant, but it couldn't be good. The spacecraft started to shake. John tried to stay calm, but fear crept into his chest. "No problem," he told himself. "I'll just turn around and go back to Earth." But when John tried to change direction, nothing happened. The controls didn't respond. His homemade spacecraft was out of control, spinning wildly through space. Through the window, John saw a gray, cratered surface growing larger and larger. With a jolt of panic, he realized where he was headed. The moon. John's ship was falling toward the moon, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He closed his eyes and held on tight as the lunar surface rushed up to meet him. Crash. The impact was tremendous. Metal screeched and tore. John was thrown around inside the spacecraft like a rag doll. When everything finally stopped moving, he opened his eyes. The ship was a wreck. Pieces of metal and broken equipment were scattered everywhere. Somehow, John was still alive, but he knew he was in big trouble. He looked out the cracked window. All around him was a gray, dusty landscape. Huge craters dotted the ground, and in the distance, he could see tall, jagged mountains. The sky was pitch black, filled with more stars than John had ever seen before. It was beautiful, but John couldn't enjoy the view. He was too busy trying not to panic. His spacesuit had taken some damage in the crash. A small crack in his helmet was letting out precious air. John knew he only had a limited amount of oxygen left. He had to find a way to call for help. With trembling hands, John reached for the radio. He turned it on and spoke into the microphone. "Mayday, Mayday. This is John Smith. I've crash-landed on the moon. Can anyone hear me? Please, I need help." But all John heard was static. His radio was broken. Fear gripped John's heart. He was alone on the moon with a broken ship, a damaged spacesuit, and no way to call for help. As the reality of his situation sank in, John felt tears forming in his eyes. He looked out at the lunar landscape again. It was so quiet, so empty. John had always dreamed of visiting the moon, but not like this. Now, it seemed like this alien world might become his final resting place. As the minutes ticked by, John's breathing became harder. He was running out of oxygen faster than he'd thought. Dark spots danced at the edges of his vision. He felt lightheaded and weak. Just as John was about to give up hope, he saw something moving in the distance. At first, he thought he was imagining things. But no, there was definitely something out there, coming towards him. John squinted, trying to make out what it was. It didn't look like any rescue ship he'd ever seen. In fact, it didn't look human at all. As the figure got closer, John's eyes widened in disbelief. His brain couldn't process what he was seeing. It was impossible. It couldn't be real. But there was no denying it. Coming towards John's crashed ship, moving swiftly across the lunar surface, was an alien. John blinked hard, sure that his eyes were playing tricks on him. But the alien was still there, getting closer by the second. John's mind raced. Was this real? Or was he hallucinating from lack of oxygen? The alien moved in a way John had never seen before. It glided across the moon's surface, leaving no footprints in the dust. Its body seemed to shimmer and change shape slightly as it moved. John's fear battled with his curiosity. He had always wondered if aliens existed, and now one was right in front of him. But he was too close to death to enjoy the discovery. His spacesuit beeped loudly, warning him that oxygen was critically low. John's breaths came in short, painful gasps. He knew he only had minutes left. With the last of his strength, John reached for the emergency toolbox. Maybe he could patch the crack in his helmet. His fingers fumbled with the latch, too weak to open it. The alien was now just a few feet away from John's crashed ship. It stopped moving and seemed to study the wreckage. John pressed his face against the cracked window, trying to get a better look. The alien had no features John could recognize. No eyes, no mouth, no limbs. It was like a shimmering blob of energy, constantly shifting and changing colors. John's vision started to blur. Black spots danced in front of his eyes. He was running out of time. In desperation, he banged on the window, trying to get the alien's attention. To his surprise, the alien responded. It moved closer to the window, its body pulsing with light. John felt a strange tingling sensation all over his body. Suddenly, the alien's form expanded, enveloping John's entire ship. John gasped in shock, and then realized he could breathe again. Somehow, the alien had created a bubble of air around the ship. John's relief was short-lived. He was still trapped in the wreckage, and he had no idea what the alien wanted. Was it trying to help him, or was this some kind of alien experiment? As if in answer to his thoughts, a part of the ship's wall began to melt away. John watched in amazement as the metal turned to liquid and flowed aside, creating an opening. The alien's form appeared in the doorway, pulsing with soft light. John hesitated. Should he trust this strange being? But what choice did he have? With shaky legs, John stood up and took a step towards the alien. As he did, he felt the strangest sensation, like he was walking through a waterfall, but staying completely dry. In a blink, John found himself outside his ship. He looked down at his body in shock. He was surrounded by a thin, shimmering layer of energy, just like the alien. John took a deep breath, amazed that he could breathe normally on the moon's surface. He looked at the alien, filled with questions. The alien's form rippled, and John heard a voice in his head. It wasn't words exactly, more like feelings and images. The alien was communicating with him. John got the impression that the alien wanted him to follow. It started moving across the lunar landscape, and John found he could move just as easily. It was like floating and walking at the same time. As they traveled, John looked back at his crashed ship. It was a mangled wreck. He realized how close he had come to dying alone on this alien world. John turned back to his strange rescuer, filled with gratitude and curiosity. Where was the alien taking him? How had it known he was in trouble? And most importantly, were there more aliens on the moon? As they glided over the gray, dusty ground, John saw something in the distance. It looked like a giant dome, shimmering faintly in the starlight. The alien was heading straight for it. John's heart raced with excitement and fear. He was about to discover secrets of the moon that no human had ever known. His disaster had turned into the adventure of a lifetime. But as they got closer to the dome, John couldn't help but wonder, would he ever be able to return to Earth? And if he did, would anyone believe his incredible story? As John and the alien approached the shimmering dome, he felt a mix of excitement and fear. The dome was huge, bigger than any building John had ever seen on Earth. It glowed with a soft, bluish light that seemed to pulse gently. When they were about 50 feet away, a section of the dome's wall simply disappeared. John blinked in surprise. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving a perfectly round entrance. The alien glided through the opening, and John followed close behind. As soon as he passed through, he felt a strange sensation wash over him. The shimmering energy field around his body faded away, but to his relief, he could still breathe normally. John looked around in wonder. They were in a vast, open space that seemed to stretch for miles. The ground beneath his feet was smooth and slightly springy, nothing like the harsh lunar surface outside. Above him, the dome's ceiling looked like a starry night sky, but the stars were moving, swirling in beautiful patterns. Suddenly, John realized he wasn't alone with his alien rescuer anymore. Other beings, similar to the first, but in different colors and sizes, were approaching from all directions. They moved silently, their bodies rippling and changing shape as they came closer. John's heart raced. He was surrounded by aliens on a secret moon base. It was like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it was really happening to him. The alien who had rescued him moved forward and seemed to communicate with the others. John couldn't hear anything, but he could see pulses of light passing between them. Were they talking about him? After what felt like hours but was probably only a few minutes, one of the new aliens approached John. This one was larger than the others and had a deep purple color. As it came near, John felt a gentle touch in his mind. "Welcome, John Smith of Earth," a voice said in his head. It wasn't exactly words, more like thoughts and feelings that John somehow understood. John's jaw dropped. You can talk to me," he stammered. "We can communicate." "Yes," the alien replied. "We have been observing your kind for a long time, learning your languages and ways." John had so many questions, he didn't know where to start. "But how did you know I was in trouble? Why did you save me?" The alien's body rippled, and John got the impression it was amused. "We monitor all activity on and around the moon. When your craft crashed, we detected your life signs. We do not interfere with your species as a rule, but we could not stand by and watch you die." John felt a wave of gratitude. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "You saved my life. But what is this place? How long have you been here?" The purple alien gestured around them. "This is one of our cities. We have lived on your moon for thousands of your Earth years, long before your species even dreamed of reaching it." John's mind reeled at this information. Aliens had been on the moon all along. It was almost too much to take in. "But why haven't we seen you before?" John asked. "We've sent people and machines to the moon." The alien's body pulsed with light. "We have technology that allows us to remain hidden. Your rovers and astronauts have passed right by our cities without seeing them." John thought about all the moon missions, all the photos and data sent back to Earth. Had the aliens been watching all along, hidden in plain sight? "What happens now?" John asked, suddenly realizing the huge responsibility he had. He knew a secret that could change everything on Earth. The purple alien moved closer. "That, John Smith, is a complicated question. You have seen what no human was meant to see. We must decide what to do next, both for your safety and ours." John gulped. He had been so amazed by his rescue and the wonders around him. He hadn't considered the consequences. What would the aliens do with him now? And if he ever made it back to Earth, what would he tell people? As John pondered these questions, the purple alien gestured for him to follow. "Come," it said in his mind. "There is much to discuss, and much for you to learn about us." With a mix of excitement and apprehension, John followed the alien deeper into the secret lunar city, ready to uncover more incredible secrets. John followed the purple alien through the vast dome. As they walked, or rather as John walked and the alien glided, he saw amazing sights that made his head spin. There were structures that looked like buildings, but they changed shape as John watched. Aliens of different colors and sizes moved around, some passing right through the walls as if they were made of air. In one area, John saw what looked like a garden, but the plants were unlike anything he'd ever seen. They glowed and moved on their own, reaching out to the passing aliens. "This is incredible," John said out loud, forgetting for a moment that the aliens didn't speak with words. The purple alien's body rippled in what John was starting to recognize as amusement. "We are glad you find our home interesting." The thought appeared in John's mind. "We have much to show you." They approached a structure that looked like a giant bubble. As they got closer, the surface of the bubble became transparent, and John could see inside. It was filled with what looked like floating screens, each showing different images of Earth. "This is our observation center," the alien explained. "We monitor your planet from here." John's eyes widened as he recognized some of the places on the screens. He saw New York City, the Great Wall of China, and even his own small hometown. "You've been watching us all this time?" John asked, feeling a mix of awe and unease. "We observe, yes," the alien replied. "But we do not interfere. Your species must find its own path." John frowned. "But you interfered when you saved me," he pointed out. The alien's color deepened slightly. "Yes, that decision was not unanimous among our people. It is why we must discuss what happens next." As if on cue, several other aliens approached. They were all different colors: deep blue, bright green, and shimmering gold. John got the impression these were important figures in alien society. The aliens began to communicate with each other, pulses of light passing between them rapidly. John couldn't understand what they were saying, but he could feel the intensity of their discussion. Finally, the purple alien turned back to John. "We have decided to share some of our knowledge with you, John Smith," it said. "But first, we must understand more about you and your intentions." Suddenly, John felt a gentle pressure in his mind. Images from his life began to flash before his eyes. His childhood, his dreams of space, building his homemade rocket. He realized the aliens were reading his memories. When it was over, John felt dizzy. What was that?" he asked. "We have reviewed your life experiences," the green alien explained, its thoughts feeling different from the purple aliens, sharper, more direct. "We needed to understand your character." "And what did you find?" John asked nervously. The gold alien moved forward. Its thoughts felt warm in John's mind. "We see a curious mind, a kind heart, and a spirit of adventure. These are qualities we value." John felt relieved, but also overwhelmed. "So what happens now?" he asked. The purple alien gestured towards another structure. "Now we teach you. We will show you truths about the universe that your science has not yet discovered. But you must understand, this knowledge comes with great responsibility." John nodded solemnly. "I understand," he said, even though he wasn't sure he did. How could he possibly understand the implications of what was happening? As they moved towards the new structure, John's mind was racing. He was about to learn secrets of the universe from an advanced alien civilization. It was more than he had ever dreamed of. But a small part of him also worried. Would this knowledge change him? And what would it mean for his life on Earth if he ever returned? The aliens led him into the structure, which was filled with strange devices and swirling patterns of light. John took a deep breath, realizing that his real adventure was only just beginning. "Are you ready, John Smith?" the purple alien asked. John squared his shoulders and nodded. "I'm ready," he said, stepping forward into a new chapter of his incredible lunar journey. John stepped into the strange structure, his heart pounding with excitement and nervousness. The inside was unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of pure energy, swirling with colors and patterns that hurt his eyes if he looked at them too long. In the center of the room was a device that looked like a chair, but it was floating in midair. The purple alien gestured towards it. "Please, sit," the thought appeared in John's mind. John hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and sat in the floating chair. To his surprise, it was incredibly comfortable, molding to his body perfectly. The aliens gathered around him, their bodies pulsing with light. The purple alien moved forward. "We will now share with you the history of our people and the true nature of the moon," it explained. "Are you prepared, John Smith?" John nodded, his mouth dry with anticipation. "I'm ready," he said. Suddenly, the room around him disappeared. John gasped as he found himself floating in space, looking down at the Earth and Moon. But something was different. The moon was glowing with a strange blue light. "What you are seeing is the moon as it truly is." The purple alien's thoughts came to him. "What humans see is merely a disguise." As John watched, the surface of the moon seemed to peel away, revealing a complex structure underneath. He saw vast cities, advanced technology, and millions of aliens going about their lives. "Our civilization has existed here for over 1 million of your Earth years," the alien explained. "We came here when our own world was dying, seeking a new home." The scene changed, and John saw strange, distant planets and epic space battles. He felt the aliens' sorrow at leaving their home, their joy at finding the moon, and their determination to preserve their new world. "But why hide?" John asked. "Why not make contact with humans?" The scene shifted again, and John saw images of early humans, then advancing civilization, world wars, and finally, the space race. "Your species is young and still learning," the alien explained. "We feared that knowledge of our existence might disrupt your natural development." And the alien paused. "We feared what some humans might do if they knew of our technology." John understood. He thought of how often in human history advanced technology had been used for warfare. "So you've been here all along," John marveled, "watching us grow up as a species." "Yes," the alien confirmed. "We have watched, and sometimes quietly helped. Many of your species' great leaps in technology and understanding have been nudged by us." John's mind reeled at the implications. How much of human progress had been influenced by these hidden watchers? The scene changed again, and now John was looking at the present-day Earth. He saw the challenges facing humanity: climate change, war, poverty. "Your species stands at a crossroads," the alien explained. "The choices you make in the coming years will determine your fate and ours." John frowned. "What do you mean?" The alien's thoughts felt somber. "If humanity continues on its current path, it will soon develop technology capable of detecting us. Despite our precautions, we fear this could lead to conflict." John saw visions of possible futures: peaceful cooperation between humans and aliens, but also war and destruction. "This is why we saved you, John Smith," the alien continued. "We hope that you can be a bridge between our worlds, someone who can understand both sides." The visions faded, and John found himself back in the strange room, his head spinning with everything he had learned. "But what can I do?" John asked, feeling overwhelmed. "I'm just one person." The purple alien moved closer, its body glowing warmly. "Sometimes, one person is all it takes to change the course of history. We believe you have that potential, John Smith." John sat in silence, trying to process everything. He had come to the moon by accident, and now he held the fate of 2 civilizations in his hands. As the aliens watched him, John realized that his true journey was just beginning. Whatever he decided to do next would change not just his life, but potentially the future of humanity and the hidden civilization of the moon. John sat in silence for what felt like hours, his mind racing with everything he had learned. The aliens waited patiently, their bodies gently pulsing with light. Finally, John looked up at the purple alien. "What exactly do you want me to do?" he asked. The alien's thoughts flowed into John's mind. "We want you to return to Earth as our ambassador, to prepare your people for the truth, slowly and carefully." John's eyes widened. "You want me to tell people about you? But won't that expose your secret?" The green alien moved forward, its thoughts sharp and clear in John's mind. "Not immediately. We suggest you start by sharing some of the scientific knowledge we've given you. Advance your species' understanding of the universe. Only when the time is right should you reveal our existence." John frowned. "But that would mean lying to everyone. My family, my friends, the whole world. I'd have to pretend I came up with these ideas on my own." The gold alien's warm thoughts touched John's mind. "We understand this is a difficult request. But consider the alternative. If humans discover us unprepared, it could lead to fear, conflict, even war. John stood up and began pacing. He thought about how people on Earth might react to the news of aliens on the moon. He remembered movies about alien invasions, the panic they showed. Maybe the aliens were right to be cautious. But then he thought about the wonder he had felt learning about the aliens. Didn't everyone deserve to feel that? To know they weren't alone in the universe? "I don't know if I can do this," John said finally. "It's too big a responsibility. And I'd be alone. I'd have to carry this secret by myself." The purple alien moved closer. "You would not be entirely alone. We have ways of communicating with Earth. We could guide you, support you." John shook his head. "But I couldn't tell anyone. I couldn't share this amazing discovery with the people I care about. Do you know how hard that would be?" The aliens were silent for a moment, their lights dimming slightly. Then the purple alien spoke again. "Perhaps we have asked too much of you, John Smith. We forget sometimes how young your species is, how different your ways are from ours." John felt a wave of relief, but also a twinge of disappointment. Part of him had been excited by the idea of being the secret ambassador for an alien race. "So what now?" he asked. "Will you just send me home and pretend this never happened?" The gold alien moved forward. "No, you have seen too much for that. We must decide together what the best course of action is." John thought for a moment. What if I didn't go back right away? What if I stayed here for a while, learned more about you? Then maybe I could figure out the best way to handle this. The aliens' lights pulsed rapidly as they communicated with each other. Finally, the purple alien turned back to John. "That is an interesting proposal," it said. "We have never had a human stay with us before. It would be a unique opportunity for both our peoples to learn from each other." John felt a surge of excitement. "I could be like a student, learning about your world, and you could learn more about humans from me. Then we could decide together how to move forward." The green alien's thoughts felt approving. A wise suggestion. It would allow us all time to consider the best path forward. John nodded, feeling more confident. "And if I do go back eventually, I'll have a much better understanding of your civilization. I'll be better prepared to be a bridge between our worlds, whatever we decide that should look like." The aliens' lights brightened, and John felt a sense of agreement and approval flowing from them. "Very well, John Smith," the purple alien said. "Welcome to your new life as the first human resident of our lunar city. Your education begins now." As the aliens led him out of the room and deeper into their incredible world, John felt a mix of emotions. He was excited, scared, and amazed all at once. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same again. 1 Earth year had passed since John's crash landing on the moon. In that time, he had learned more than he ever thought possible. The aliens had taught him about advanced science, the history of the universe, and the delicate balance of life across the galaxies. John had changed. He was no longer the amateur astronaut who had built a rocket in his garage. Now, he understood things that even the smartest scientists on Earth were still trying to figure out. But as amazing as his time with the aliens had been, John felt a deep longing for home. He missed the blue skies of Earth, the sound of birds, and most of all, his family and friends. One day, John approached the purple alien, who had become something like a mentor to him. "I think it's time for me to go home," he said. The alien's body shimmered with understanding. "We knew this day would come," it communicated. "Are you ready for the challenges that await you on Earth?" John nodded. "I think so. I've thought a lot about what I'll do when I get back." The alien led John to a room he had never seen before. Inside was a sleek spacecraft, unlike anything on Earth. "This will take you home," the alien explained. "It's designed to look like your original ship from the outside, to avoid suspicion." As John prepared for his journey, the aliens gathered to say goodbye. The gold alien approached him. "Remember, John Smith, you carry a great responsibility." The future of both our peoples may depend on your actions. John felt the weight of those words. He had decided not to reveal the aliens' existence right away. Instead, he would slowly introduce the advanced science he had learned, helping Earth progress bit by bit. "I won't let you down," John promised. "And I won't forget you." The green alien moved forward. "We have one last gift for you," it communicated. It handed John what looked like a small, smooth stone. "This will allow you to contact us if you ever need to." John clutched the stone, feeling a connection to his alien friends. With a final look at the incredible lunar city that had been his home for the past year, he boarded the spacecraft. The journey back to Earth was smooth and quick. As the blue planet grew larger in his view screen, John felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. How would he explain his year-long absence? The spacecraft landed softly in the same field where John had begun his journey a year ago. As he stepped out, he saw flashing lights approaching. Police cars, ambulances, and news vans were racing towards him. John took a deep breath. This was just the first of many challenges he would face. He had a lot of explaining to do, and even more secrets to keep. As reporters shouted questions and cameras flashed, John held up his hands for quiet. "I know you all have a lot of questions," he said, "and I promise I'll answer them. But first, I need to share something important with the world." He paused, thinking carefully about his next words. He couldn't tell them about the aliens, not yet, but he could start leading humanity towards a greater understanding of the universe. "During my time in space," John continued, "I made discoveries that will change how we see our place in the universe. I'm here to share that knowledge and help push our science forward in ways we've never imagined." The crowd fell silent, hanging on his every word. John felt the small stone in his pocket, a reminder of his alien friends and the incredible secret he carried. As he began to explain the first of many scientific breakthroughs he would introduce to the world, John knew that his greatest adventure was just beginning. He was no longer just John Smith, amateur astronaut. He was now a bridge between two worlds, with the power to shape humanity's future among the stars. The road ahead would be challenging, but John was ready. He had seen the wonders of the universe, and now it was his turn to guide humanity towards its next great leap. With one last glance at the moon hanging in the sky, John smiled. His journey had only just begun.